Right. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the ReptiChat podcast. We're doing things a little bit differently today. If you're watching, you can see that I have Paul's monitors joining us.
Hello.
Normally, I would do an introduction, but Paul's sort of joining me as a co-host today a little bit. I'm not really sure. We don't have a plan for this one. We're just going to wing it.
I'm going to be the interviewer of your podcast.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to work. It's
Yeah.
almost like being on Paul's podcast, but on my podcast.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read the title of the podcast or the whatever it is on YouTube, you will see that I'm selling all my snakes, and it's not Paul's fault, but it is Paul's fault in a way because he made my brain work properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll just dive straight into it and
Let's start at the start. When did you first? Let's be polite because half of your audience are one of you.
yes.
People that don't know, I'm a very sarcastic person. Allow me. What was it that in your brain where you were like, I don't want to do this anymore?
So the doing this specifically is keeping the royals in racks. And I'm not against racks. I know you are quite strong against racks, but not the people that have them. Racks.
Sorry, just a quick caveat. I'm not against racks, right? I'm against not providing UVB and UVA for herptiles.
Yeah.
That's what I'm against. So if you've got a tub with UVB and a halogen, I don't care. If you've got a completely sterile box with some PVC pipes with a UVB and a halogen, I don't care. I think you're doing a massive disjustice to any reptile and now even potentially birds if you're not providing a minimum of UVB. But I also don't like heat mats because they only give you infrared C, and that's not a true. You don't find that in the wild outside of like when a road is heated up from the sun. Then it projects the infrared C. So that is natural, but the animal infrared C doesn't penetrate the skin. It doesn't absorb into the tissue and the muscle of the animal like infrared A or infrared B does. So when I'm a monitor keeper, so it's very important for these animals to be able to have the penetration of that heat to digest their food. And it is for all reptiles. It's just certain reptiles, namely snakes, just live in these conditions, whereas other animals don't. So I'm not anti-rack. I'm anti no UVB and no halogen, which obviously goes hand in hand with a rack.
You can't really do it in a rack.
Anyway.
I've seen anyway. So that's quite interesting actually. I hadn't really thought about it like that. It's a bit like when you've got the heating on the house versus when you walk outside and the sun hits you and when you can feel the heat from the sun.
Yeah, so there's different. Like I'm into geckos now, and I'm sure we're going to get into that with your endeavors. But I don't keep my geckos on heat mats. They need the belly heat because they're a nocturnal species, and that is how they get their heat. But I have halogens over rocks or slate, and those rocks and slate will heat up during the day. And I have UVB on them in the day. I've never seen one of my geckos in the day at all, but they have UVB. And at night, the geckos will come out and they will sit on the rocks, and it will produce the infrared C, and it will radiate the heat. And over the night, that rock gets colder and dissipates the heat. And then that gives the geckos a cue of, okay, the heat's dissipating. It's obviously getting closer to the dawn because the rock's getting colder. And then also as well, the circadian rhythm. So basically the day-night cycle of a nocturnal animals, they need light to realize to switch off to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So again, all right, fine. If you've got a transparent box, these animals can get light, but again, in a rack, if you've got an opaque tub, these animals are in darkness until once a week the whole environment moves and they're like, whoa, and like I say, I'm not anti-rack. I'm just I'm big on my lighting. I like the UVB. I like the halogens, and for me personally, I think that's how we should be progressing, and I just can't comprehend keeping any other way lesser than. More so, great, but I've seen so many more benefits from my animals under UVB and halogens that I don't wish to regress in my personal keeping. But I don't hold it against people, because I'm really good friends with Ridda. I'm good friends with you.
Yeah.
And I don't treat you. Like, tell me if I do. I don't treat you any different than I do anybody
No,
else.
no, not at all.
So I want what's best for the reptiles. I couldn't care about the people or the money or the profit or whatever comes with pyramid
Yeah.
scheme. Yeah, I just want what's best for the reptiles, and that's why I kind of like was in your DMs like sell your snakes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
To be fair, I'd like to. Yeah, Paul didn't make me sell my snakes. To be fair, like it was a decision I'd sort of made on my own, and I was chatting to Paul about it, and he sort of just pushed me in the direction that I was already heading. I needed someone else to go, yeah, do it, because I was already there. I just needed that extra little nudge.
But
So
what got you there? What
why am
was
I
it that
selling the
got you
snakes?
there? Yeah.
So since I started the podcast, obviously I've had loads of different guests on,
Mm,
and some of them are royal keepers, but I've tried to have a big selection of different keepers on.
mm,
And one of the main reasons that I decided to sell the snakes, not the only reason, but one of them, was every time I talk to someone that's got something that I think is really cool,
mm.
be it a tiny little gecko, a frog, like you, a lizard, a monitor lizard, even a parrot. I'm not getting a parrot. My wife told me I'm not allowed one. My reasoning that I haven't got one is because I haven't got the time. I haven't got, well, not so much time. I haven't got the space, and I haven't got the money.
Mm-hmm.
And all my like dedicated reptile space in the house is racks.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, I was feeding all the snakes as I do, and I was stood there. And I looked, and like in my living room, we've got a 6-foot enclosure with a chameleon in it, a huge tortoise table, a bioactive, like fully built out crested gecko enclosure, and they all look cool. I love sitting
You're
there on
set
the
up for
sofa
sick.
watching them.
I said
Yeah,
this to you privately. I said
I'm really
you're
happy
good.
with them. Like my chameleon one, I love that. It was an old Avery. I cut the front off. Like the whole thing is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I go into the kitchen to do the snakes. Don't get me wrong, I love the snakes, and they're all just there cruising the front of the tubs. And I'm like, I hate it. Like I never really realised. No, I've kept royals on and off for 15 years,
Mm.
and they've always been in racks. The first couple I had were in Vivs, and they didn't do very well. And I moved them to racks, and there was an instant improvement. And whether that was down to how I had the setup in the Vivs at the time it was a long time ago, and the like info wasn't that great, and it was like go for racks. Racks work really well. And don't get me wrong, they eat, they breed, they shed, they do loads of good stuff in the racks. But I haven't got any comparison in Vivs really, apart from like maybe 6 months of experience when I first started keeping reptiles. And
I
I said to
think.
Paul,
Oh,
go on.
sorry, carry on.
I said to Paul that like I like having the snakes, but I'm not. Well, Paul asked me which are there any that specifically like I really care about, like my dogs. So like I wouldn't sell my dogs for love nor money. And I said he asked me about the snakes, and to be honest, there isn't. And it's not that I don't love the snakes, but I love the snakes as a whole. I couldn't point out an individual snake that I was like, oh, I really like that one, has a name. It's like whatever. It's the keeping of the snakes as a whole that I like. So yeah, I've made the decision that after 15 years, I'm going to sell all the snakes. And if I decide that I don't like it and I want them back, I'll get some more snakes, and that's not the end of the world. But there's so much other cool stuff that I want to experience, and I want to have big vivs that I can like walk past and see them out basking or chuck in live food and watch them chasing it around. I don't want to stand in my kitchen looking at the animals and feel bad because they're just cruising in the front of the tubs.
I
I
think
I made a decision.
I think with royal keepers, I think justification in the reptile hobby full stop is very apparent. We all justify why we do what we do, for good or for bad. And the longer I've been part of this hobby, the more I want to move away from it, because everyone's got 10 pence they want to put in, and I don't care for it. And if you're enjoying your hobby, great. If I don't agree with it, who cares? Who am I? Like, it doesn't matter. If you're enjoying your hobby, then fine. But I think when you have it in the back of your mind, you're like, there's something not quite right here, regardless if that's a leopard gecko being kept on a heat mat or if that's a royal in a rack. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If in the back of your mind you feel like you could do better, it doesn't matter if it takes you 15 years to get there. That feeling won't go away. That feeling will be there forever. And when you're part of a community, let's just use the royal one for this instance, you've got people around you, I'm assuming, they're like, no, they do better in the racks. This is where they love to
everyone
be.
says they do better in racks, and like I said, from my experience, they do. But I don't have the experience in a Viv to say they don't. if you know what I mean.
And I'm not qualified enough to talk on royals. I've kept royals, believe it or not, in Vivs. Never had
Yeah.
issues. And when I say I've kept royals, I had two. Because I was planning on doing Paul's reptile parties, and I wanted a social snake. I've never had an issue, you know. I never ever had an
Yeah.
issue. They're in 4-foot Vivs. I thought the 4-foot Vivs were way too small. I hate keeping snakes because it's hard to make a snake look small in an enclosure
Yeah, I know
because
what you
they're
mean.
long and big bodied. You know, for me, I'd want a royal in a 6x3x3, and I'm not prepared to give a royal that much space. I don't like them that much, so I don't keep them. But I think for a long time, if you're keeping an animal X way,
Yeah.
and you now realize that it's wrong, you have to do what you're doing effectively today and go, not that you're wrong, because I feel like you're going to be like, oh no, because they do better, blah blah blah. I could be wrong here, but you want to change, but I think people know deep down why they want to change, and it's hard to face yourself and be like, oh, we were doing this wrong, or I'm not happy with how I've been doing this, and very
Yeah.
few people admit it. But I feel like a lot of people feel it. I was the same with my boss monitor. I was keeping it in a 6-foot long, 3-foot deep, 2-foot tall, and she's only 2 foot long. And a lot of people are like, she had LEDs, halogens, UVB, deep soil. But because in my head that enclosure was tiny, I never ever posted about her. I never spoke about her because I felt disgusted in my keeping.
Yeah.
And now she's in an 8x3x3. She doesn't do anything. She sits on a big log at the back, and she doesn't. But now I'm happy with how I'm keeping. I'm like, okay, so the issue isn't necessarily the animal; it's me and my insecurities of my hobby and my keeping. Because I've had people tell me, "Oh no, it's fine," because she's not a great big massive bosk. She's a 2-foot skinny, lean, lazy bosk.
Yeah.
So to bring it back to the point, I think you have got to the point where your personal keeping, you don't want to take part in this anymore, rather than, because I don't know if you've spoken to any of your, I'm going to say royal friends, inverted
Yeah.
commas. I don't know if they've had anything to say on it.
I've spoken to one. I won't name because I don't know if he wants to be involved or
Yeah.
not. But he, funnily enough, he actually said the same thing as I did. So he's got a similar setup to me. Like he's got his royals in one room, and then in the other room they've got the rest of the animals, and they've got frilled dragons, like leopard gecko, like loads of other reptiles, and they're the same as me. Like all their setups are cool, and then you walk into what is the snake room, and it's racks.
Mm.
And I said to him, like, I'm selling everything because of this reason. Like, I hate looking at them in the tubs now. And he was like, funnily enough, he's been thinking the same thing. So whether that, I don't know if it will change or not, but
I think there
I
is a
think,
movement.
yeah, definitely. And like I found myself, like you say, you weren't posting pictures of your bosk. Is it Bumpy, the
It's
bosk?
bumpy, yeah.
I
Bumpy,
like
yeah.
the name as well. Like I don't, if I'm posting pictures on Instagram on what is Ben's Balls account, I make sure that you can't see the edges of the tubs in the pictures. I crop them deliberately, or I take them at an angle just so you can't
That
see the
says it
tub.
all. That says
Yeah,
it all.
exactly. And
Yeah.
like I said, like I get so much enjoyment out of the reptiles. Like if you don't follow me on social media, you won't have seen, but I got some morning geckos this weekend, and these geckos are like the size of a 5p. They're the tiniest things in the world, and I got more enjoyment out of putting them in a 30 by 30 by 30 enclosure that I live planted and watch them explore and run around than I do out of the 37 royals that I've got, because you can see them doing their natural behavior. Like they're sitting, they're chirping to each other, they're licking water droplets, they're hunting whatever food I put in there. Whereas the royals, like you say, they're either at the front of the tub or I'm opening the tub and disturbing them. You never see that natural behavior. And quite a lot of people, a few people I've spoken to said, "Why don't you keep one?" And I don't know about anyone else, but my problem is like it's not a problem, but I don't know what the word is. Like I see the royals as a whole, and I know that if I keep one, I'll be like, well, he or she is breeding weight now. I want to breed them, and then the whole sort of cycle starts again because they are really addictive. So I'm gonna step away completely from the royals and just big snakes in general. I might get something smaller. I was looking at like rough green snakes and things like that, but I don't want. I don't even know what it is. I haven't decided exactly what I want to keep yet, but I just know that I want stuff that isn't particularly, I don't know, popular, I guess, in the hobby. So there isn't as much of a demand for it. So I won't be tempted to go, oh, I'll just go and breed it because, you know, I need an extra few £100 or whatever.
For me, it's interesting actually because I'm going to do a shameless plug now, but I don't really care.
Go for it.
This is out on Saturday, so hello everybody in live chat. But on Wednesday, so it's already been, I'm going to be speaking to Ridder about a topic I brought up today that's come into my brain today. And it's basically just philosophy of reptile keeping. Like, one, why do you need to breed? This is not you, this is just keepers.
Yeah, as a whole.
One, why do we need to breed? Two, why do we need so many? Three, what are we expecting to get out of them? You know, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I'm the same. I don't have just one animal. I have a few. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get a pair. But why do I need a pair? I could have a pet Bosk. I don't want a male for Bumpy. But then my tree monitors, I'm like, I want a pair. And does money come into it? Maybe. Me personally, not really. But the species I'm focusing on breeding are mangrove monitors. There's no monetary value in mangrove monitors. So, but it's like, I understand full circle keeping. I understand wanting to hatch them. I understand, you know, I've been hatching monitors and it's amazing. And I think and I'm looking into the ethics of keeping at the minute. Like, I don't want to keep Pilbara rock monitors. I don't want to keep Kingorum, the King's rock monitors, because they're already at a point where the genetic bottlenecking is starting to affect them because people don't breed good to good. People just get siblings and breed them and breed them and breed them and breed them. So when, for example, say my grandkids are sat here talking about lizards, they're going to go, oh yeah, you know, these animals are so inbred, and I don't want to be part of that problem. I don't want to be a person contributing towards that. So I'm not going to breed. And I've come to this epiphany where I'm like, we clearly need reptiles to fill different areas of our life. So I have my Bosk for a big cuddly animal, if we're going to say that.
Yeah.
I have my mangrove for something that keeps me on my toes. I have my tree monitors for my eye candy. I have my geckos for my impulsivity because they're communal, so I can buy one, quarantine it, stick it in. And I have like my toad heads for my watching, like my amusement. I have all these different pillars because no one animal fits it. But then I'm like, what am I chasing in my life for me to want all of this external validation from these reptiles? And obviously I don't have the answer, but I have a feeling, I know we've spoken about it and obviously you're limited on space, but you're going to go, this is cool, I want it. This is cool, I want it. This is cool, I want it, which is completely fine. And I do that. But then it becomes dangerous because reptiles are almost seen as a commodity. Like I put it on my story today on Instagram. If a lady has, or a man, but it's crazy cat lady, you've got 10 or 12 cats, you're crazy cat lady. You've got 10 royals, you're like, oh yeah, it's just normal. 10 lizards, that's just normal.
I think that's only normal in the reptile community, though. Like, if I told my neighbours I had 37 snakes, they'd be like, what the?
But then the cat community, most people have 1 or 2 cats.
Yeah, very true.
So it's in amongst we've normalized all of this. And it's the breeding as well. Like, I'm guilty of this and I do not have the answer. But why do you have to be like, I can't keep one royal, I have to breed them? Like, why?
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. And I've got, so like we've had the chameleon for 6 years. I've never wanted to breed them. The tortoises, we've got a pair. They live separately because we don't want them to breed. But I don't know. There's something about royals. I think it's because that obviously there's so many morphs and there's so much going on. Yeah, definitely. Whereas, so like you say, I am going to want to go, oh, that's cool, I'll buy that. Oh, that's cool, I want to buy that. So I've got a rough plan in my head, and once the racks have gone, before I buy anything, apart from the morning geckos because they were an accident and they were given to me, so they don't count. I'm gonna sort of work out what space I've got. I've got a plan in my head for a couple of animals that I want, and then I've got a plan in my head for what space is left and what enclosures I want to fit there. And then even if the enclosures, like, my plan is hopefully to have them all looking really cool, so like live plants, the whole lot. So even if I just plant them all, chuck some isopods and springtails in there, and then just leave them to do whatever for 6 months a year, I don't care. Like, I'm not planning on rushing into any buying this time.
Because that's good though, because you won't mess up. I think you'll know what space you have, but you can't buy something that doesn't fit.
No, that's exactly it. And like when I first started keeping reptiles when I was like 14, 15, it was very much oh my god, that's cool, let's buy it, let's fit it in wherever I can. And I ended up with like rainbow boas, leopard gecko, like literally anything that was at the pet shop, I had at home because it was cool. When I sold everything and like life happens and then got back into it, the royals were always the forefront. And the royals, my plan, it wasn't like a plan to make loads of money. Like the money helps because it pays for itself. It pays for the food, it pays for electric. But I was never going, I'm going to breed these and make thousands and thousands of pounds. It was more of a, oh, that's cool, I want to make that. Or that's cool, I want to make that. But it's all well and good them looking cool, but they're all sat in tubs and I can't see them. Like, and I get them out for like 3 or 4 minutes and I hold it for a little bit and then I'm like, I'll pop it back then, I guess, because it doesn't want to be held. Like, yeah, it's I've almost come to like a sudden realization.
It's when I said to you they're a pyramid scheme. I can imagine. Imagine you were at home and you were like,
yeah. To be honest, you're not wrong. Like I was, you said to me, I can't remember exactly, but it was basically, they're a pyramid scheme.
I was like, you're a part of the pyramid scheme, and
I
basically
giggled.
the top of the tree sells to the bottom of like one underneath, and one underneath, and one underneath, and one underneath. So you're either at the very, very top. I don't know any royal people, but like I don't know, Justin Cabellico, his name's thrown around, but whatever. You're at the top, or you're a pet keeper. Anyone in between is just trying to get to the next run up, and you never get there because there's always something new, and everyone makes you think that this season's hot. I don't know, pet bloody light bulb is going to be like, wow, and you just chase a metric, and you end up buying these animals off people that keep them in tubs, to keep them in tubs, to breed them, to sell them to people that keep them in tubs.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and like I get it, and I get the enjoyment people get out of it, but I'm at that point now where I don't want to do that anymore. I want like really cool vivs where people can come around and I don't have to explain to them, oh, they're all right in the tubs. That I want them to come around and go, oh, that's cool, like they do when they see the chameleon or the cresties or whatever. Like, yeah, it's like I don't even know, man. My brain has literally gone from like I say a month ago, I was like, yeah, I love the Royals. The Royals are sick. I'll keep them forever. And then I've gone, you know what? I was literally stood in the kitchen cooking dinner, and I looked at the tub, and like on top of the snake racks is my leopard gecko, Winston, who's in like a full built out enclosure. And he was just cruising around doing his stuff. And then you look slightly below, and the snakes are like, I was like, damn, man. They want to be like roaming, or they don't want to be sat there. And it's rubbish.
There's this moral dilemma now, though. And I was speaking to someone about this recently because the snakes that you're going to sell are probably going to go to racks, right?
Yeah, probably.
That is what it is, right?
Yeah.
The moral dilemma passes from you to somebody else, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think royals are ever going to go away, but I think one breeder, small breeder, such as yourself, such as other people that I know, are going to just go, you know what, I don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah.
The people that are higher on the pyramid scheme are going to stay because there's too much money in it not to.
Yeah, and I think the people that are in the top end, like selling the $5,000 plus snakes, they have no problem selling them because it's the people with money that are buying the snakes. Like this year, especially, like I haven't bred a lot. I've had 4 clutches this year, and normally the eggs hatch, the snakes are here for maybe 6-8 weeks, and then they're sold. In fact, most of the time they're sold before they come out the eggs. And this year, because the market's crashed and there is no money in them, I've got 22 babies sat in the racks at the moment. I think because I don't normally have quite a quick turnaround, I don't see like them all sitting there, and I'm running out of space. And yeah, like I said, I was never breeding for the money, but at the same time, I'm not going to give them away because that's just they end up wherever. Like if the pet shop has a few locally to me, and that's fine. But I think because I've got so many and I'm sat on them for so long now, as well, it's just like what's going to happen? Like like you say, there's so many people breeding royals, and if there's so many people, like I wouldn't say I'm high up on the pyramid, so to speak, but I'm definitely not like a pet keeper or like a first time breeder. And I went on Morph Market in the UK alone. On Morph Market yesterday, there was 7,000 royals for sale. Like, and I've got 22 that I haven't even listed yet, which means loads of other breeders have got stuff. And if no one's buying anything, what's going to happen to them all? So that's another reason I wanted to like move them on. Well, like not stop keeping them and stop breeding them. Is because I don't want to be responsible for 1,000 snakes being dumped at the RSPCA every year or whatever.
Mm.
And like,
It's
yeah,
hard
it is really hard. Like you say, it is a
because
real
there's no
moral
answer.
dilemma.
Because these snakes live like 40 years or whatever it
Yeah.
is, 30 years. Like, so eventually your snakes get to old age, they die, and
Yeah.
hopefully, and this is going to sound morbid, but hopefully, in 50 years, a lot of these snakes have then passed on. Hopefully, have lived good lives for the 50 years, whatever the case may be, and we're at this point now where there's only a couple of breeders rather than like we see it all the time in the reptile hobby. People. I had this epiphany the other day. I was at work and I don't enjoy my day job, and I was having a really bad day. And I was like, do you know what? I could just buy a bunch of lizards because I can breed lizards all day long. All right.
Yeah.
Sell them, forget the morals, forget the ethics, just make money.
Yeah.
And I could sit at home all day with my reptiles, which is my dream. And I could sell them and breed them, and I'd have to cut corners because everything comes down to bottom line. But yeah, and in that moment, I realized why people do it, and I don't judge anybody for anything. Like, I don't know where you've come from, I don't know what you know, I don't know what shoes you've walked in, what you've been through. Like, I don't judge people, but I don't believe having an animal in a detriment just so you can sort of make a couple of grand. I don't think that's a good enough excuse to justify not allowing an animal to have something it would naturally have. Like, we're talking about domestication. We're trying to domesticate reptiles. Like, I know there's a lot of talk of wild recreation and keeping naturalistically, but we are domesticating animals. It's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We still take our dogs for walks. Like, the wolves, they're so far removed from wolves now that they don't necessarily have the instinct. Like, I have hunting dogs. They're retired now. Like, my parents. I used to hunt with dogs when I was younger. They were bred to hunt. They hunted and they did what they needed to do. We still did that. We brought them from working stock, and now my mum's got some, not puppies anymore, but puppies. They have their purpose. They need to walk. They have their basic needs. And if someone has a dog and they're like, oh, I don't take my dog for a walk, it doesn't need to go for a walk, everyone's like, oh my god, like, what? Dogs need to go for walks. But then when you go like a reptile, which is ectothermic, and you're like, oh no, it doesn't need the sun. Like, it doesn't need the sun. Hang on a second. Like, I know we're trying to domesticate these animals, but you're taking away like that's like us being like you don't need to drink water. Like, you can just drink Lucozade and you'll survive. You will, but it's bad for you. Like, yes, these animals are surviving. Like, I mean, answer me honestly, you don't have to, but do you wholeheartedly believe, as a royal breeder or an ex-royal breeder, that royals thrive in racks?
I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not going to say no. I don't know. Hang on, I'm getting my word. I'm not going to say no. I don't think they thrive, but I have no evidence to say that they do. Like, I've never seen them do any natural behavior. But I don't know what natural behavior for a royal is really.
But you can't see it anyway because it's in a drawer.
Exactly. They're all in tubs. So, like, the only evidence I'm seeing is they eat, they gain weight, like they breed, they shed, they do all those basic life things.
I do that. I'm depressed and fat.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree with you. I wouldn't say you're
no,
fat.
but
Look,
I
yeah,
eat, I drink, I reproduce, I have a child. I'm miserable, mate. I'm not living a human existence. Like, as this is a lot when I talk to people about this, it blows their mind. So I'm prepared to have your mind blown. People listening, we look at these physical attributes of these animals. They shed, they eat, they drink, they breed, which are all bare minimum of survival premise. Every animal on the planet has innate behaviors to breathe, to breed, to feed, to survive. So you're meeting these bare minimum pillars of survival, and we're classing that as thriving, right? But that's not the point I'm trying to make. We haven't once thought about the psyche of these animals. we haven't once gone, but are they to anthropomorphize happy? Like, are they stressed? Are they okay? Oh no, they're feeding. It's an innate behavior. An animal, it's in them. It's ingrained. Like, we don't go, oh my god, I'm in a really, really stressful situation. Oh my god, I've forgotten how to talk.
Yeah.
Like, it's innate. We've learned it. It's done. Like, and talking is probably a bad situation because you have to learn that. But I don't
know
all
what
of a
you
sudden forget to breathe because I've been kidnapped. Like,
mean.
you. So for me, and this is not just with royals, this is with anything. If an animal is eating, is breeding, is shedding, like this, that, and the other, like, okay, you've met a humidity requirement.
Yeah.
And you're catching an animal that's hungry. Like, it's not hard for an animal to do that. If you put two animals in a box with absolutely nothing, they're going to breed. If you put me in a box with absolutely nothing, I'm going to breed.
Yeah. That's unfortunate for the people that got coming there afterwards, though.
I'm not
to
worried.
be honest, no, I completely agree with you. And I think the reason that, or one of the reasons that people keep in racks, snakes specifically, is because their body language is generally quite hard, unless they're hungry or they're annoyed. They don't really express any body language. Like if you had like a bearded dragon, like bearded dragons are quite expressive in their movements, what they do. Like you can tell sort of a bit more what's going on in their head. You can't exactly tell, but like
I know what you're saying, but that's not the snake's fault. That's the keeper's fault.
no, I know. But I think that's one of the reasons that the keepers can go, oh, they're thriving in there because the only things they're seeing are like the breeding, the eating, all that sort of stuff. And so it's hard to actually tell if there is anything else going on. Whereas you look at a beardy and like if he's sad, he'll have a black beard or do many other things that bearded dragons do. So I think it's picking up on that body language.
You said the royals surf though. Like,
They do that in the evenings.
I'm not a snake guy, but surely that's them trying to roam.
Well, yeah, that's I've noticed it a lot more recently. Like, I don't know if they've always done it. I don't know if I've never paid that much attention to them or what. But in the last 6 weeks, I've noticed them at the front of the tubs a lot more than they normally are. And the first thing I do is go, "Oh, is something not right with the like?" I check all the temperatures and stuff because if it's like too hot, you'd think they're be at the front of the tubs where they're cooler. But all the like basic husbandry things say that it's the humidity is right, the temperature's right. So there's something else obviously going on, and the fact that they're all at the front of the clear tubs where they can see like daylight or whatever, yeah, it just makes me feel horrible, man.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think, like if I said to my son that this behind me, it looks white on the screen, but it's like a green color. But if I said this is like bright red, if I said to him from the day he was born, this is bright red, and one day he's going to go to school and he's going to see this green, or as this looks white wall, and he's going to go, oh yeah, that's red. And another kid's going to go, no, that's white / green. Let's use white for this analogy. No, that's white. No, my daddy, my mentor, my everything, my world has told me that that's red. And then you come to this crossroad and you have two choices. You go, right, my whole life is a lie, identity crisis, or you go, my whole life is a lie, identity crisis. Let's recluse and fight, or let's go, oh my god, teach me that that's white. And I feel like royal keepers have been led down this path, and I'm not going to say led astray because if you're happy in your own hobby, I don't care. But if you're led down this path and you're told that this is what they do and this is normal and this is how we do it, this, that, and the other, and it's how it's always been done and this is how they do it the best, blah, 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 blah. One day when you realize that that's wrong, in inverted commas, you have your two choices. You can go, well, my whole life's a lie, or you can go like, no, fake it till we make it. And, if you look through history, humans have done some horrific things that we have deemed okay, and then it changes.
Yeah.
It was only, I don't know when it was passed, but it was like recently that you could just gay marriage was like passed. Like, it's like, no, if you're Christian and if someone's gay, get out of the church. Like, so it's not like we can't change. We can all evolve. But if you're generally happy and content keeping snakes in racks, then more power to you. I couldn't care. You know, I'm not here to discuss that.
Yeah.
But I think if like where you're trying to go now, you get a snake, for example, a rough green snake. I used to keep rough green snakes. You've got a big planted terrarium, some twiggy little branches, and there's a cricket at the very top of the branch, and your rough green snake spots it, and it comes winding through, and it's like swaying in the breeze like it would as a bite. The cricket comes down, wham! You've just watched this snake hunt as it's evolved to hunt.
Yeah.
And that little moment, that serendipitous moment of keeping, is why we keep reptiles.
Yeah.
And
My
your
camera's
cam-
dropped up. Yeah, it's
your
fine. It'll
camera's
come back.
disappeared. Okay.
It'll come back.
This serendipitous moment is why we keep reptiles. And don't get me wrong, I personally cannot comprehend how you can experience that bliss when an animal's in a tub.
Yeah.
So that for me, it's just based on this, because I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, as it were. But like, I come down into my reptile room with my monitors, and I'll be watching. Like, I've just added a feeder puzzle into one of my tree monitors, which is basically just a test tube, and I'm putting crickets in it. And she's
Yeah.
coming over to it, and she's trying to get her hand in there, and she's pulling these crickets out. Now, she could do that in a blacked out enclosure, but I wouldn't get to see it. So what's the point? Like, she's still doing it, great, but I'm keeping her selfishly so I can watch these behaviors.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing for a lot of people is, let's enjoy our hobby, but then also let's enjoy our animals.
No, yeah, no, I completely agree. And it makes perfect sense, really. Like that, I think that's the main reason that I've decided the snakes are going, because I can't see them doing anything natural or more natural. And I hate it. Like, I get like my chameleon, for example. Like, we throw locusts in there, and then you watch him hunt them, and like he fires his tongue out, and you see him like you say with the rough green, like he sways in the wind, air quotes because there's no actual wind, and like seeing him do those like natural behaviors is really, really cool. And again with the cresties, like all the live food gets thrown in there, and then I can see it, and you hear thud as one of them's launched off a leaf, and like, whereas the snakes, I pull a drawer open, there's a rat, close the drawer, next one, and it becomes a chore, and it's not an enjoyable thing. And yeah, so with the I'm going from probably 30. I think I've got 37 snakes at the moment. I don't even know how many I've got.
I don't know how many lizards I've got, if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So like, I don't know, maybe 7 vivs in total. So like, hopefully, I'm hoping that I'll get more attached to the animals, like I am with the chameleon, the tortoises, the cresties, like, and I'll be able to experience them all exhibiting their more natural behavior. It's just something that like I'm genuinely excited about. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I like going to the pet shop and like buying, like you say, like you get that sudden enjoyment you were talking about in your podcast last night. But I don't get that from the royals anymore. Like, if even like this year, I've bought, I don't know, 6 royals earlier on in the year, and I was like, yeah, there's a new snake, it's gone in the tub, there we go, done. Like, whereas the morning geckos, I've had them since Saturday. Like, the first thing I did when I got home from work was I was like, oh, what are the geckos doing? And I sat there for 15 minutes watching them, and they didn't do anything. They sat on the end of a stick and didn't move, and I got more enjoyment.
What's mad is they're only a £10 gecko.
I didn't even pay for them. I was given to
no,
them.
but if you were to go and buy them,
yeah,
this cost you a tenner for all that enjoyment.
I know,
So
and I'm
money
genuinely
doesn't come into
loving it.
But with royals, you have to feel like you're enjoying it. You have to have the next big thing, which costs money.
Yeah.
Whereas you can go and buy a green anole for 25 quid and watch it like flare its dewlap and run around and change color and all of that. Such an amazing lizard and a cool package that you can keep in a tiny enclosure, still Bigfoot it, but a small enclosure on your side.
Yeah.
You know, and have all that pleasure and bliss for 25 quid.
Yeah.
And it's
it's brilliant. Yeah. Like, you were on your podcast last night, you mentioned you put your beardie in a bigger enclosure, if I remember rightly, and you said it was like a palace.
Yeah, so it's not in there now, but I've rearranged my room. I put my beardie in an 8x3x3 because Bumpy was out roaming around, and I was like, I want to see what my bearded dragon's tiny. My bearded dragon head, and it's probably about the size of my phone. I have an iPhone like Max, the bigger iPhone for people listening, Pro Max, and my bearded dragon snout to vent is probably the same size as my iPhone, so about as big as like an adult male's hand. So she's a small bearded dragon, and I put her in this 8x3x3, and she climbed up onto this log, and she was about two and a bit foot off the floor, and she had this massive enclosure, and I was like, why am I not keeping like this?
Yeah.
Like, why am I not doing this? And she's in a 4 foot long, 3 foot tall, 2 foot deep. So it's still, I class it as an okay. And I say this a lot on my podcast. Like, my mangrove enclosure is 6 foot long, 4 foot deep, 6 foot tall. And that's for a 2.5 foot long total length lizard. So it's a big enclosure for a smaller lizard, even though she's quite big, but a small lizard in a big enclosure. Now, that enclosure is good. I don't think it's small. It's not like, oh my God, of course I could do better, but I'm saying it's a good enclosure. But if I took my tree monitors and put them in there, that'd be a great enclosure. Or if I took my bearded dragon and put it in there, it's a bloody massive mansion for this tiny little lizard. And it's like, we get these dogs and we're like, oh, I'm going to give it the world. I'm going to go spend £100 on a bed and we're going to take it for a walk. And we get these reptiles, and this is not so much royals, but it's just reptiles. And we're like, oh, what's the smallest viv I could keep this in? What's the minimum? And I'm not trying to judge people, because I was there and I'm learning from my mistakes. So I used to have over 100 animals, like when I was 23, 22, 23. So 7 years ago, I had berms, retics, bosks, tortoises, frogs. I had everything, and I was like, "This is cool. I can fit it there." And it's not the way. And I have a smaller collection now. I have about 22 reptiles, and I think I'd be a lot happier with 5. I'm never going to get to that place. There's no point of sitting here and being like, "Oh yeah, sitting on a pedestal." But if I can get to a place one day where I have a bearded dragon in an 8x3x3. And I've just put my Akis in a 6x3x3. They were in a 6x2x2. They're in a 6x3x3 now. It's massive, mate. It's massive.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I noticed with the morning geckos yesterday or Saturday is like these genuinely these lizards like the size of my thumbnail at the moment. They are tiny. The pet shop said I saw them in the enclosure. I was like, oh, what have you got in there? He was like, what do you mean it's empty? I was like, no, there's definitely 2 little lizards in there. He was like, oh, they must be morning geckos. I put some eggs in there. They must have hatched. So they are they're fresh babies. And they're in a 30x30x30 exterior at the moment. And it is mad. Like they look minuscule in there. And it's and I love it. Like because they've got like the basking spot, they've got plants, they've got leaf litter everywhere. And there's like isopods in there, and the isopods are almost bigger than the lizards. And they're all interacting, and it's really cool to see them like I said earlier, like doing natural behavior. So like one's on a stick somewhere and the other one's chirping, and I was like, what is that noise? I had to Google it, and they chat to each other, and like because they like to be they're almost like a bonded group or a pair or whatever, and they like to know where each other are. And that's something I've never experienced before. The only other animal, like you get the snakes hissing, and that's just them telling you to go away. And sometimes if I'm lucky, I hear the cresties chirping to each other. But these guys were like chatting for ages, and I thought it was amazing because it's not very often you get sound effects or sounds from reptiles.
There's only geckos and crocodile skinks are the only ones with vocal cords.
Yeah, so that was something I've never experienced before. Well, the cresties a little bit, but you don't tend to sort of was that the cresties? I don't know, but these guys were like fully chatting for like a good hour and a half. But seeing them in that, not in that enclosure, because if it's not that specific enclosure, but an enclosure that big in comparison to their size, it was like my whole brain was like, oh, this is what I need to be doing. Like stuff needs a space. And I think one of the reasons that like people keep in touch, like not small enclosures, but the minimum, like you say, is because that's sort of how we're conditioned. Like if you get, for example, if you're new to reptiles and you go online and you go, I don't know, leopard gecko care sheet, and the care sheet says you can keep in a minimum of a 24-inch by 18-inch vivarium, you go, oh, that's fine. I can keep it in a 24-inch by 18. It doesn't say like you can't. They might survive, but they'd be better in this one. Or so I think it's just. I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's like just.
It's no one's fault. It's what you're conditioned to the second you go into it. And I'm very fortunate that I've been keeping for a while, and I'm very unfortunate that my brain is a horrible place to be. So it constantly questions everything, and it's pushed me to a place of uncertainty with where I want to be in this hobby. But that's exciting because you constantly change.
Yeah.
And I think it was Luke from Beach's Scaly Beasts. He said to me on my podcast, he was like, when you have these geckos in these big enclosure with loads of sticks, it's like going herping at night.
Yeah.
And you're looking for these. It's like we all loved going out finding frogs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to find a royal. Oh, there he is. You know, but when
Yeah.
I come into my room today, I was like checking the little hiding spots, and like I'm not going to see the geckos because they don't come out tonight. But I've got a baby mangrove that's smaller than my hand in a 4 by 3 foot enclosure that's fully live planted, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no idea where you are. And sometimes
camera will come back. Don't worry.
it's fine. I've learnt the first time, and I'm like, sometimes I come in and hoping she is basking, and I'm like, oh, sick, the mangrove. Then it runs off, and I'm like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I don't see it again for 2 weeks. And don't get me wrong, that kind of sucks, but I know that the lizard is happy because it can do what it wants. It can stay out, it can hide, it can run, it can climb, it can dig, it can swim. And as someone who does struggle with mental health, I like the options in life. If someone said to me, right, you have to do this today, and this is all you get to do today, I'm going to stress and I'm going to get all anxious and I'm going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Like, where are my options? Where are my choices? And again, I keep incredibly sentient animals in regards to monitor lizards, but I believe every organism is sentient and everything has a conscious, and everything is conscious, should I say. So I'm sure that no matter what animal you're keeping, it at some level is contemplating where it is, what it's doing, why it's doing it, how it's doing it. And I think if you can give animals complexity, because at the end of the day, but they're keeping them in boxes, doesn't matter if it's the biggest box in the world or the smallest box, it's still a box.
Yeah.
So if you can give a captive some complexity, because like I messaged you, like, and I said to you, like your enclosures, like your chameleon enclosure and your leopard gecko enclosure, like, they're really nice enclosures. You know, and I'm not the sort of person just to say stuff. I just wouldn't say anything, or I'd be brutally honest and say they're rubbish. But they're sick, mate. And I know what you'd be capable of in this scheme over the, I don't know, year that we've got to know each other, or whatever it's been. I know what you'd be capable of. And I think I thought it, because obviously there's a transition. I thought it was a shame that you were denying your future animals the home that they could have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I quite often say to my wife, like, even when we're just like cleaning out the vivs, not cleaning out the snake tubs, because that's like snake, pick up poo, spot clean it, whatever. But when we like especially the tortoise table, actually, that's a really good one, because we do the tortoise table every week. Like, it gets spot cleaned whenever it needs to, but every week they're on topsoil, so the soil gets changed and everything in the enclosures gets moved around. So every week or every other week, they have like basically a whole new enclosure, and just setting it up is one of my favorite things about keeping reptiles. Like, when I first started, when I was a lot younger, me and my friend, like, we both kept all sorts of stuff. He was mainly like inverts, and I had quite a lot of reptiles. And we used to love it when one of us would buy another or get a new animal, because that means we get a new viv and we can set it up and make it look incredible. And that's something that I really enjoy. Like, my leopard gecko, Winston, so he was a rescue. And when he came to me, he was fully grown, like 12 inches long, and he was in a 30 by 30 by 30 Xterra. And he'd been in it his whole life. It was awful. And when he arrived here, he stayed in that Xterra for another 2 weeks, because I was like, you know what? He's been in there for however many years. 2 weeks will be fine. And I spent every evening of that 2 weeks building this. I can't remember how big it is. It's like a 90 by 60 by 60 or 90 by 45 by 45. Like, expanding foam background, fully live planted, drainage layer, springtails, isopods, like everything. And putting them in there and like seeing it evolve, and like the plants growing all the time. So I'm like trimming the plants, and the whole enclosure is growing massively. I absolutely love that. Like, that is probably one of my, if not my favorite bit of reptile keeping, is like trying to recreate the sort of more naturalistic enclosures. I don't want to say fully bioactive or natural enclosures, because they're not, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love that. And you can probably tell in the way my voice has changed from going the snakes are in the tubs to how much like yesterday I did 2 Exoterra vivs for Hatch and Cresties, and even just doing those, like, they're quite basic. They've got like a little drainage layer, they got some leaves, they got real plants, fake plants, the whole lot. And I love that. I spent like an hour and a half doing that, and I was like singing along to myself, and it's brilliant. And you stick them in there, and now I can just sit there for hours watching them explore all this really new cool stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
what's
just
mad is due to your conditioning. You got this leopard gecko. Uh, what do you say it was? 12-inch leopard? Did you say 12
yeah.
inches?
He's a big. It's like the length of my
Okay,
forearm.
so
It's
12-inch
huge.
leopard gecko, which is 30 centimeters. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the leopard gecko was the same length as the enclosure it was in.
yeah,
Same length, same width, right? And you were
yeah,
like, "This is disgusting."
yeah.
How big's your biggest royal?
5.5 foot.
Is it in a 5.5 by 5.5 by 5.5 foot enclosure?
No, it's in a 33 liter rub, which is like 71 centimeters by 50.
This tiny little leopard
Yeah,
gecko. Oh my god, this is disgusting. And when did you get Winston?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, so I was
Your
keeping royals
brain
at the
was
same time.
there.
I had royals at the same time.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Because of conditioning, I don't blame you for this.
Yeah,
Like, this is not your fault, but it's not anybody's fault, you know.
no.
And it's all a process of learning to keep. Like, this is we all go on our own journey. You know, we all end up in the same place, which is in the ground, and we just
Yeah,
have to try and enjoy our life before we get there. Like Winston, oh my god, I need to upgrade Winston. Winston deserves the Pokemon cards of all colors
yeah.
and patterns and shapes and sizes. You see what I mean? It's mad, isn't it?
No, I know what you mean, and it's like
Yeah.
you'd think like. So my most expensive royal is like nearly £1,000,
Mhm.
and a leopard gecko that you could pick up for 15 quid, 20 quid. Like, I genuinely, it's not that I don't care about the snakes, but like, there's so much more of my passion in that little leopard gecko that is, well, it cost me nothing, but they're cheap. Whereas, like, so the money, I don't know where I'm going with this. Like,
Money doesn't come into it. Yeah,
the money doesn't come into it at all. And you'd think
Yeah.
if I spent, I don't know, £100 on a car, or I spent £100,000 on a car, like the £100 car, and probably it's going to be a banger. I don't care. The £100,000 car, I'll be cleaning it, waxing it. It'll live in. It's. So you'd think, you'd expect the snakes to equate to the same thing. Like, I spent this much money, like that's like what, 2 weeks work, 3 weeks work, whatever.
But it's an
But
investment,
I
though.
just,
It's not
yeah,
a pet.
exactly.
It's an
No,
investment.
that's the problem, and I think that's one of the realizations I've come to. Like, I wasn't buying them and keeping them to make money, but at the same time,
You were
when
sucked
breeding
into
them,
that
I got sucked into that, and the money
industry.
does help because
Yeah.
it pays for them. But
Yeah.
my head went, "Oh, if I breed this, I can keep whatever comes out of it because I want to produce this specific morph. I can then sell the babies, and I've got all this money, so I can buy more."
It's perfect plan. It's flawless.
Exactly. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So if
And
anyone
then you
wants to
go on
buy some
YouTube,
royals, go and check out my morph market.
link in description.
Yeah.
You go on YouTube and you're faced with wall to wall to wall to wall to wall rack with people with millions and millions of subscribers.
Yeah.
And again, it is what it is. I don't care. I'm content with my keeping where I'm at right now. But little Sally or Tommy or Jimmy or whatever's turn on YouTube. I really love snakes. Oh yeah, YouTube. Blah, blah, blah. We all know the names. Come up, boom,
Yep.
racks. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
it's desensitization of the commercialization of sentient beings.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
Mad.
Like, one that really stands out to me is Brian Barczyk, because obviously he's got this reptarium where he's so passionate about the animals, and they've all got, like, don't get me wrong, some of these animals are outgrowing the vivs now, and he's dealing with that. But like, all of the setups look incredible. They've all got their like rocks or heating or whatever. And then he goes into the basement, and there's rows and rows and rows and rows and racks of royals. Whereas you go upstairs, and it's like, I don't know, I've got a sloth that's got a room bigger than my living room. And then you go
I
downstairs.
remember he cried when he put his reticulated python Lucy in that enclosure.
Yeah.
I used to watch him. I don't so much anymore.
No, I don't know.
You know, to be honest, it's not even a dig at him. I don't really watch any YouTube anymore. I just don't have the time. But I remember watching that video, and him sitting and crying, watching this snake that's been kept in a tub its whole life climb instantly,
Yeah.
go straight up a tree, right? And I remember putting my mangrove monitor, which used to be in a smaller enclosure that I wasn't particularly proud of, into this big enclosure, and she climbed 5 foot up a vertical branch.
Yeah.
And I remembered that video from Brian, and for me, I was like, okay, I'm now invigorated to make sure everybody can do this.
Yeah.
And yet he's still breeding in racks. And don't get me wrong, let's get the money in, you know?
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like commercialization, it is what it is. Like they're a product. Royals are a product. And it sucks for royals, but this is why I don't like morphs, because any animal that has a morph then becomes monetized.
Yeah.
And it's the same with tree monitors, to be honest. They're not morphs, but they're paint jobs of monitor lizards, and the price is ridiculous. Like, I do not agree with the prices of tree monitors at all. They outprice so many great keepers. So it's not just commercialization of these royals or leopard geckos or crested. Like tree monitors, I'll say it here first. I'll say it to any tree monitor breeder in the UK, and I'm friends with pretty much all of them. The prices are crazy.
Yeah.
But people are paying it. People are making money. Fair play to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
they're never going to reduce the prices all the time people are paying them.
No, exactly. And I don't care that they're selling them for so much. But what I'm saying is an animal becomes desirable, a new morph, a tree monitor, it's tied in with money. And same as dogs. That's the same as dogs. You know, French bulldogs are a lot more expensive than a mutt, you know?
Yeah.
Everything has this monetary value to it. And once you have got this animal, your £10 morning gecko or your £2,000 tree monitor, you love it the same because you build a bond with this animal that you're observing. So the money doesn't really come into it.
Yeah.
But I don't like that money is so affiliated with these animals and morphs more so. It's okay, you're no longer a leopard gecko, you're a super max snow eclipse.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an animal anymore, it's a product. And that's why I'm not a fan. Yeah.
Like actually saying it's a label, like all my snakes, the first thing I see when I look at the rags, they've all got like an ID label on the front of them.
Of the morph rather than their names.
They haven't got names. They've got
exactly mad.
They've got a number and a name, and there's other things that have had numbers and names in the past, and let's face it, it never ended very well.
Around 1939 to 1945.
Yeah, that sort of time, exactly. That's exactly what I was going at. And like some of them have got names, but that's because my daughters named them and the names have stuck. Like all of my animals that aren't royals have names, every single one. And the royals are, that's a pastel calico, that's a pied, that's a whatever. And like there's no bond to them at all. But like it is interesting that the morphs though, because obviously the royals, that is like the big point. It was for me anyway. But some animals, I don't know if it's just me or the way like the leopard geckos. We've got 4 leopard geckos here. I don't know what morphs they are. I have no idea. I don't care. Like they're just leopard geckos and they are pets and they're never going to get bred. Well, my daughter wants to breed them, so we might do it once. So she has that experience, but it's never going to last. And the same with the cresties. Like you get cresty morphs. I've got 6 cresties at the moment because I've got 3 unexpected babies. And again, they're just cresties. Like I was talking to the local pet shop yesterday, saying did they want some babies, and they were like, "Oh, what morphs have you got?" I was like, "I have no idea. They're just baby cresties. They're little and they're green. They're cute."
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know why that some animals the morphs stand out to me more than others. Like the royals, corn snakes I did as well. Like my friend, I never kept corns like as pets, but my friend used to breed corns. And again, that was exactly the same thing as the royals. It was morphs. Got to have the stripes. Got to have this. Got to have that. And I don't know why some of the animals it does appeal to other people. Like, it does appeal to me specifically, and some of them don't. And I don't know if it's a subconscious monetary thing or like the body language thing. I have no idea, to be honest.
I think it's what you're exposed to though, because like if you're a corn snake breeder, you probably don't necessarily like royals.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just what you're exposed to. And I've never been a morph guy. I've had animals that have been morphs. But I've never been like, oh, I need it because it's this morph. Like there's only 2 monitors with morphs, so lace monitors and King Gorum, which have like an albino. Asian water monitors as well, actually thinking about it. But anyway, as soon as I don't want it anymore. Don't like it. Second, it
Yeah.
gets amorph in my mouth. This is bad taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Asian water monitors is probably a great example because there's lots of now morphs
Is that
coming into
like
that.
the black dragon is one? Is that
Yeah,
one
so
right?
there's black dragon, there's a true locality, which is a different species. It's Varanus Kamang. It's not Kamingai because that's the yellow-headed water monitor. It's like Kamani. That's it.
Right.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's
Yeah.
Varanus Kamani, which is like a true black dragon, and then you've got a melanistic Varanus Salvator, which is a Asian water monitor that's black, and then obviously you can breed it to a normal, get hets, breed back.
Yeah.
Same as that, any
And then you
recessive
end up
gene.
with royals.
Yeah, then you've got T negative albinos, T positive albinos. You've got certain. I don't know enough about it because I don't care, but there's certain like Kevin McCurley's leading most of it.
Yeah,
and it's just big animals, small enclosures, production.
yeah. I think obviously because people have been so successful with royals and Burms and retics over the last 30 years. Like look at Brian Barchett, Bob Clark, Kevin McCurley. They're like Justin Kabelka. They're all multi-millionaires. And sort of the royals are still going, but they're always looking for that new thing. So, like you say, like they found a couple of albinos in the wild. Let's get them over here, and we'll see if we can make Asian water monitors the next thing.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things I've been looking at when I eventually get the new animals, so far the few I've looked at, I'm not looking at morphs or color mutations at all. Really, like I want them to be wild types or normals or whatever you'd call them, because if I'm trying to create naturalistic enclosures and trying to make
it
them,
as you'd see it,
yeah, exactly. Like if I go to, I don't know, Madagascar, for example, and I want to see cresties, I'll see a crestie and I go, that's a crestie in the wild. I don't care what color it is. I go, oh my god, that's incredible. Or like the dart frogs. Don't get me wrong, the dart frogs come in loads of different colors, but they're all naturally occurring colors, and they're not things where they're interbred to produce new colors. They're just, oh my god, that's a bright blue frog. Let's leave it as a bright blue frog or a bright yellow frog or whatever. So yeah, that's one of the main things I want to do is not have color mutations or morphs or whatever. I want the more natural looking things, so to speak.
I'm gonna be a twat, but I don't care because it's me and you know me.
Going
to Madagascar, you probably wouldn't find crested geckos anyway. But
yeah,
I just had to say that you have to go to New Caledonia. But
yeah,
you'd find Europlatus sleeve-tailed geckos.
Yeah.
But I know
I'll find some lemurs. That's fine.
I know exactly what you're saying. You need to get toad heads. Toad heads are cool.
Yeah, toad heads are cool. I keep seeing. I saw the video you sent me, and then you put up a reel a couple of days ago, and the way they do like the tail wagging and whatever they're doing, it's really cool. But I need to not buy them because they're cool. I need to like have a look and go, have I got the space? Have I got the space when they're adults?
They're not very big as adults.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm gonna have. There's so many things that I'm gonna want.
And my little female was on top of this log a couple of days ago, and Fee walked over, and obviously because there's an environmental stimulus, I'm not exaggerating. The tail went completely flat and then was doing a 180 like this, but really fast. So the tail just was doing this, like straight. And I was like, what is it doing? And Fee was like, oh my god, is it all right? And I was like, I don't know. And yeah, just start doing this with the tail, like, and yeah, they're very cool. You know what? Actually, on that subject, I have come to the conclusion myself that, for example, toad heads I've always known are cool, always, but I've never really thought about keeping toad heads. And then I impulse brought a pair, and then I was like, these are bloody awesome! Like they're amazing, you know, and they're so easy to keep. A box of sand, a couple of rocks, really, really hot, which is great because my room's really, really hot. Because another thing as well, you have to pick species that are going to flourish in your room. For example, if your room sits at, like my room does, sits at 28, 29 degrees most days, I can't throw a crested gecko in there.
Yeah.
So you have to plan your room. But a lot of these really, really cool species are slept on because, again, our association is, you're a beginner, okay? Corn snake, royal, crested gecko, leopard gecko, bearded dragon. They're your beginner species. You're becoming a bit more of an intermediate. Okay, you can get I don't know, Ackies, boa constrictors, or maybe like a tortoise. And then you're a bit more of an advanced keeper. And then, okay, that sort of unlocks these common advanced species, leaf-tailed geckos, bigger monitor lizards, bigger snakes. It's all the common stuff.
Yeah.
But then when you sort of peer behind this curtain that people don't necessarily talk about, you've got all these Anolis, all these different chameleon geckos, like the Bowers chameleon geckos are amazing. Knobtail geckos are amazing. Like these little June geckos I've got, they're about £25 each, £30 each. And they are the best little lizard I've ever kept. Every night they're out and the tails are waggling around. All 5 of them are just out running around like a little troop. And I sit there with my son's tiny little chair. I put it into the reptile room, sit on it, and I have a black light, and I just sit and watch these geckos just waggle. And they're so communal that they talk to each other with their tails. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm like part of it. And I'm like, and I have a naturalistic enclosure with like rocky outcrops and sand, and I'm like, this is like what I would see if I was like out in the wild in the deserts and I was gonna find them. And there's a gecko species, I think there's only one guy working with them in the country, and I want to get some, but basically their bones glow same as a scorpion under black light.
Oh,
so
cool.
they have so they literally turn like bluey purple under black light. I'm like, yes. I've never heard of these.
Cool.
And they're the same, they're a tiny little sand gecko. I think they're from, I want to say from Namibia, but I could be wrong on that, so I'm not going to. But anyway,
you could tell me anyway. I'm never going to correct you.
Oh mate, I don't know. I'm not going to try and pretend that I do. I did look into them, but I've forgotten now. But there are these so many cool species that no one ever talks about, like garter snakes. Garter snakes are incredible. No one talks about them, and it's like you'd do a lot better to buy something that you only see once in a blue moon because you would enjoy it more because you're learning it. As long as it's within your realms of keeping.
That's I mentioned that to you a couple of days ago. I said that the animals I want to keep are like, I don't want your sort of pet shop animals. Like I want an eclectic mix. I want stuff that like maybe like you say 3 or 4 people are working with in the UK. Like or not necessarily that rare, but stuff that you don't go into every pet shop. I don't want to go in and go, oh, that's a I don't know, pink toe tarantula, bull, Pac-Man frog, leopard gecko, bearded dragon. I want stuff where, like, if people come around, they're not going to go, "Oh, that's cool. I've seen one of those in a pet shop." I want them to come around. Not that I care if they come around and I'm showing them off, but I want them to go, "Wow, what is that?" Like, not, "Oh, I've seen one of those in a reptile shop," or "All my friends got one of those," and not
I'm trying to find you a picture. I've got the gecko just for you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like. And like you say, learning about the species as well. Like I get the Exotic Keeper magazine every month, and every month there's a species in there that I've never heard of, and it's really cool. And having something where, like even like the morning geckos, so their care is really, really simple. They're easy to look after. The temperatures are much like Cresties. There's not much in it. They eat fruit flies. It's easy. But watching them, like learning about them chirping to each other, I had no idea. Like. There's so many cool things, and even if like I'm not sitting there going, "Wow, I've learned an entire encyclopedia on this one species," I'm going, "Oh, I learned a cool fact today," or "I didn't know that they express that specific type of behavior." I love that, and I'm like a big sponge, and all that stuff is really cool. And I'm just genuinely really excited about it, to be honest.
Oh, 100%, mate. There's so many cool behaviors that people don't talk about. I'm just copying this Latin because I cannot be bothered to. Pachydaculotus rogus or something like that. But I'll show you this gecko.
You'll have to show me on your camera because my phone is my camera.
I'll show you on the camera. But there's so many of these cool species of animal and these cool behaviors of these little animals that have such eclectic little lives. And let me just zoom in so we can all see this. People that are viewing, you have to go over to YouTube and check this out. Hopefully it's gonna clear. Me go close and then come out.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. It's like a little scorpion gecko.
It's like a scorpion gecko, but it's incredibly spiky. Pachydaculotus rugus. I'm getting one soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trading it. And it wasn't necessarily for me to keep. It's just doing a trade and bits and bobs, and again, Pokemon cards. So if you're
Yeah.
interested, message me.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But they're again tiny, and they have like these weird. It's the same as like the Strophoros geckos. They can shoot like a weird acid out of their tail, and or like oh god, I was actually looking at them the other day. Horned lizards. They shoot like blood out of their eyes, and we
Yeah.
can keep these sorts of things as pets.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like that's sick.
I don't know why people don't. I don't know if it's a lack of captive bred animals or just people go, oh, it's a bit more of a faff. I'm not going to bother. Or they might not even be a faff. I don't know.
The
why
horned lizards
some...
are because they eat ants.
Okay.
So I think it's folic acid.
Yeah.
Folic acid. You have to get folic acid supplements and put them on pinhead crickets. So they are a faff.
Yeah, that sounds like a faff.
But Strophoros, amazing. You know, like the knobtail, the spiny tail geckos, they're amazing. And it's just because you go on YouTube and you type in top 5 pets, best 5 pets,
Yeah.
cool 5 pets, pet shop room tour,
Anything like that.
you know, even Mr. Brian Barczyk himself, what's he got at his zoo? Corn snakes,
Corn snakes,
ball
ackies,
pythons, hackies. You know, yeah, all right. He's got a
crocodile.
lace. Yeah, he's got alligator. You know what I mean? He has got the cooler species, and I understand he has to have these animals
Yeah.
to be handleable. I understand it, but what I'm saying is, by just association, we have these. Oh, this is this. Like, I get it with Riddler all the time. Like, I show him an animal, he's like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Like, how have you never seen this before? He's like, I don't know. I've just not been exposed to it. You know,
Yeah.
And it's no one's fault. It's just I've been down a different rabbit hole to him. That's all that there is. And I show him these animals, and he's like, "Oh, wow, this is incredible." So there's so many cool species that you can keep that you'll get a lot of joy from as well. Because, like you say, something so simple as a morning gecko chirping,
Yeah.
you didn't even know that was going to be a thing. You're like, "Oh my god,
I
wow.
had no idea. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're completely right. Like there's so many cool species out there. That's one of the reasons I don't want to rush into anything when I eventually like decide I'm going to fill the Vivs or fill a Viv. I'm not going to necessarily go like, oh, that fits in there. I like that. I'm going to get one. It's going to be a case of I'll get an idea or have an idea, and I'll probably end up sitting on it for 6 weeks to 2 months, research, see what else crops up. Because no doubt when I start, like, for example, looking at like I was looking at vine snakes. I haven't got the space for a vine snake. I was looking at vine snakes, and then a Ridley's cave racer popped up, which is something I'd heard of them, but I'd never really looked into them. And then I was looking at rhino rat snakes, and it all sort of like there's so many cool things out there that I hadn't not necessarily not heard of, but hadn't even put never looked at, never thought about it. And now I've decided that I'm not breeding royal. So there's no, like, in my brain at no point now am I thinking, oh, I could breed that. What do they sell for? Like, don't get me wrong, I might breed stuff in the future just for, like, the one-off experience. But my brain is going, what's cool? And not necessarily cool to look at, but like, why is it cool? Like the morning geckos, they're tiny, they chirp, they produce through parthenogenesis. Like, that's all really cool things. Like, for example, the lizard you were talking about that spits blood out of his eyes or whatever it is. That's really cool. Why wouldn't I want one of those? Or the rough green snake, it eats crickets, and it's like there's nothing to it. It's a small spindly twig looking thing, and
There's
it's still
one
really
near
cool.
me. The pet shop near me, they've got, it's bloody expensive, but there is a rough green snake in a pet shop near me. I was tempted myself because I used to keep them, and you can cohab them with I had mine cohabbed with American green tree frogs and American green anoles.
Yeah, so I had a friend that had anoles and a rough green snake way back, like 15 years ago. And
yeah, this is
when
from
he bought,
ages ago. Yeah,
like, they were well cheap then as well, and you don't see them anymore.
yeah,
Like, especially anoles, and anoles used to be everywhere in
it's
pet
like
shops.
a £5. I've seen one recently for £60.
Yeah, like they're just it's like my pet shop. I was talking to them yesterday because I was picking up some bits, and the lady that runs it was really excited to tell me that they've got an anole breeder locally, and she's got 3 coming in. And I was like, That's mad. Like they were everywhere 10 years ago,
Mm.
and now like you just don't see them because they're not as popular or they're not as big or they're not as impressive. They've just sort of phased out, and I want those cool little things.
Are
Yeah, I
you
don't know.
familiar with someone called Philip Leitz? His page is
No.
called Arids Only. He's a Euromastics breeder in America.
Okay.
He's recently done an episode on animals at home on like the philosophy of what it is to do natural keeping. Is the episode great episode? Anyone wants to listen? But the point of the story is he's recently just got into sandfish skinks, so like the sand swimmer skinks.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, it's a lizard that everybody overlooks, and he was like, it's just a tub of sand. Okay, fine, cool. You throw some mealworms in there, all of a sudden the sand starts bubbling like carp, and then it's just these animals come out, and all these lizards like tremors, like, and he's like, it's so cool to watch, like so cool to watch. And he was like, don't get me wrong, in 10 years' time, these guys could be completely worthless. In 10 years' time, they could be no one's breeding them anymore, and they're really expensive, like anoles here at the minute,
Yeah.
or tokay geckos. A captive bred tokay gecko is between 100 and 200 pound at the minute. I could buy 10 tokay geckos for 50 quid from someone I knew 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, admittedly all wild caught and captive bred, but now they're on CITES, so they can't get here anymore.
Yeah.
You need papers. So he was saying about these sandfish, he was like, it's a species of lizard that everybody has overlooked. No one has tried to figure out how to breed. If I can't remember where they come from. I want to say like Pakistan or somewhere like that. But anyway, if wherever they're from stops importation, they now disappear from the hobby because no one's figured out taking the time to breed these regularly common $5 lizards. And it's like the green anole. I used to have green anoles, and they're incredible. Like they have the independent moving eyes. There is a word for it, but I forget what it is. Same as chameleons.
Yeah.
You know, they stick to glass. They are so intelligent. Like they're mini monitors, same as like green killbelly lizards, or the Tracheodomus species, the grass lizards, the long tail lizards. They are sick, like mini monitors, like genuinely mini monitors, and their head and body this big,
Yeah.
and then they just have this massive tail, and they're bright green, or depends what species you get. I think Sextiniatus are stripy, and then I know. Anyway, there's a bright green one. Dorsalis is stripy, Sextiniatus is green. Anyway, I forget, but there's these bright green lizards that hang out in blades of grass and are little communal mini velociraptors. And someone's gone, yeah, I think I'm just going to get a crested gecko. Nothing against crested geckos, but because that's what we know. And you can Google how to care for a crested gecko and get results.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I don't know why specifically like little lizards and even like little snakes as well. They're not popular. I don't know why. Like I would say, a cresty or a leopard gecko is about as small as you're going to get for a popular animal, like popular lizard anyway. And there's
Yeah, I
loads that are
agree.
smaller, like you say, and they're really cool. And the same with snakes, like even corn snakes or rat snakes. Let's stick to corn snakes. Even if you take a wild type corn snake, they get like 6 foot long, but because they're like not a heavy body snake, it's like, oh, they're a beginner snake, or oh, they're boring. When really, I don't understand why that is, and I don't know if it's like people want this, oh, a big impressive python or whatever. But like the vine snakes that I'm looking at the moment, or the rough green snakes or whatever, they're literally stick thin. There's nothing of them, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And I don't know why my brain and my conscious has decided, like, made that decision to go, well, you've had heavy body snakes, like, let's get small, more delicate looking stuff. I don't know why I've made that decision. I couldn't even tell you, but everything in my like whole body at the moment is going, get the small little stuff, like the little geckos or a smaller monitor lizard or dart frogs. I think it's because I know that for the size of the animal compared to the size of the enclosure I can give it, they've got so much more space.
And it's also crazy to think that there's a heart, lungs, intestines, like a liver, a spleen, like all of this stuff, and then one day eggs crammed into this tiny little gecko.
Yeah.
Like how do they do it?
No,
How does it exist? Yeah, like that's what I find cool about my little geckos, because my little June geckos are only they're probably only a little bit bigger than thumbnail size.
Yeah,
They're not massive. They're not fully grown yet, but they're not massive. And it's like, how? And they've got these weird little heads and these massive eyes, and they've got like the upturned noses, so they end up getting sand in their nose. And the same as the toad heads. The toad heads have like feathered back toes, so they can dig in the sand. They have weird adaptive scales over their nostrils and over their ears, so they don't get sand in their in their eyes. And when they bury down, it's like, that's so cool. That's so
yeah,
cool. And it's the same as silly stuff like what are they called? Euromastics. They're just these tiny little weird alien bobblehead, spiky tailed, vegetarian eating, sit out in 45-degree ambient heat lizard. Like
yeah,
designed to literally live in the middle of like the harshest environments.
yeah,
These animals flourish where everything else wilts and dies. And it's like, how cool is that? It eats bloody seeds. And it's like, how
yeah,
cool is that? And we, for some reason, choose. I love my bearded dragon. I have nothing against
yeah,
bearded dragons. I'm just saying, we pick these animals through commonality. And like, if someone says to me, like, Paul, what lizard do you recommend? I'll ask sort of what you're into, this, that, and the other. But then I'll probably end up pushing you down the road. I'm the guilty as everybody. I'll get an Aki or get an eye. Get an eye, all right. They're a little bit uncommon. But like, I've had experience with them, and I know that they're good beginner animals, because if you're starting out, you do want someone to try. And I'm a big believer of you should get what you want. But when you start out on that foot, you're like, oh well, this person who knows more than I do is recommended I get this, and then you end up just listening to other people. And it sounds like you finally got to a place where you're putting your keeping first rather than the hobby first.
yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
I think not that I wasn't confident before, but I feel like I'm confident enough. I don't know if it's through doing the podcast and talking to so many other people with so many other animals, but I feel like I'm at a stage now where I could quite happily get any animal, reptile wise, I'm going to say as a whole, and be able to go, I know what sort of requirements it needs, not necessarily housing, like sizes, but I know that I can provide what it needs. Or in the case of the Royals, I have not got room for 37 vivariums that are big enough.
Mm.
I think that because I'm more confident, I'm happy. Like I want to go for the species that are there's not as much information on them online, or like they're just not as popular. Because I'm happy where I am as a reptile keeper now. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, mate. Yeah, I'm the same with the mangrove monitors. Like, I don't want to class myself as the best in the country, but
Yeah,
no one is doing, and no one has done what I have done with the species in this country.
yeah,
And that is just what it is. Admittedly, there's not many people doing it, so there's a very small pool to pick from, and I just happen to be one of the biggest fish in that pool.
yeah,
And that is purely because I've dedicated all of my efforts to my mangrove. And I've,
yeah,
go online, basking temperature for a mangrove. Okay, 40 degrees Celsius. All right, cool. Basket 40 degrees. Ugh, my lizard's looking quite plump, feeding it the rats. Oh, well, it's not digesting the rats properly because one, I'm not supposed to be feeding it rats, and two, the basking spot's nowhere near hot enough. But nowhere online tells me that. So I'll bump the
yeah,
basking spot, I'll start feeding it this, I'll respond to this, see what it does to that. And I'm an experienced enough keeper to be able to see the changes in behaviors and understand when the animal's benefiting or having a detriment.
yeah,
And then you get to the place where you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm one of the better people of this species. And because, again, it's a very small pool, but if you start dedicating all your time to this, for me, with these toad heads, not many people, there's a couple of people in the UK working with these toad heads. I have Googled and I cannot find anything.
I'd
Like,
never, to be honest, before you were keeping them, I'd never even heard of them. So
yeah, they're not the I remember it as Wazowski, but it's not Wazowski, it's like Przowski. They're P whatever the Latin is, Przowski, but they're not the wide-headed agamas. The toadheads that open up like demigorgons are the wide-headed
yeah,
agamas. These are smaller, more colorful. But I have a 1.2. and I'm kind of tempted to pick up another 1.2 because they're 2.4 will live together, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why not?
That's
Like,
something
just have
else that
these.
I'm really looking forward to is the communal enclosures. So like the morning geckos, the plan is eventually that they'll go in a big, fully like whatever planted, bioactive, naturalistic with dart frogs. And I want to be able to mix, not necessarily mix all the species, but that one specifically I'm looking forward to because it's something that I've wanted to do for ages. Is try and replicate closer to what you would see in the wild, so to speak. And because they're such small animals, I can provide what would be like a minimum size enclosure for a leopard gecko, or like you say, a palace for these tiny little animals, and see them sort of like balance out their populations as well. Because hopefully that they'll breed, and hopefully the geckos and the frogs, and they'll like the adults will eat the babies, and both vice versa, and it'll all be um I don't know what the word is.
Symbiotic.
Symbiotic. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Because like the royals and most species, if not all species I've kept in the past, they're always like, don't house them communally. Like, don't do it. So I don't plan on doing it for every single species. And I'm not looking specifically for species that can, but if I can have that, even if it's like just that one viv with the dark frogs and the morning geckos together, I'm really excited about seeing like the way they interact with each other. And I keep like on my YouTube at the moment, like I get a lot of suggested videos that are like keeping vampire crabs with geckos or whatever it is, and seeing these massive vivs like fully planted, little water, like trickling waterfall, like even like a fire-bellied toad enclosure with some guppies in the water, like that's so cool. Like I have never experienced something like that. Like I've got my cresties living together, and that's it. Like everything else is separate.
You don't necessarily get true communal behaviors with that though, because they're not
No.
necessarily a true communal species. So I got a pair of toad heads from the show, and I lost the male. The male passed away quite quickly after getting them. And I had within 2 days of owning them, I'd already reserved another pair and then lost the male. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And my female genuinely was depressed. Did not do anything. At least I'm hoping it's the female, because they're a little bit too small for my untrained eye to sex them, but I'm pretty sure it's female. But she just sat. She did not, no tail wags, no moving. She didn't really eat. I've got the other two, and I should have quarantined them. I'll be honest. I didn't. I put them straight in with the female. They've been in a pet shop that I trust for quite a while, but I put them straight in with my one female. And the second these other two toad heads went in there, she got up, she's wagging her tail. I've watched all three of them bask together, eat together. And these are animals that she's never met. And she just obviously has this behavioral instinct to know that this is her species and she has to interact with them. And she's so happy now. She's running around. And that for me, like, really put it into my brain that I was like, yeah, these animals, I already am a big believer that they're sentient anyway, but these animals really experience emotions. It's not just the monitors. You know, I keep arguably some of the smartest reptiles on the planet. But you see something like that and you think, wow. It's the same as something simple like tokay geckos. You know, they literally bond. They raise the babies together. They guard the eggs. And there's even footage somewhere, I can't think whose footage it was now, but there's a footage of a male, might have been Reptiliatus, but the footage of the male catching a big locust, ripping it up, and then letting the baby feed from this locust.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's
mad.
bird behavior.
Yeah.
Like, that's sick.
But
and you don't get that. Again, if you're after communal aspect, you can't get much more communal than a pair of tokays because they literally raise the family. But you don't get that behavior if that's the behavior you're looking for by keeping just a group of crested geckos. You don't get that.
I completely
behavior.
agree.
Yeah,
the cresties, they're like, although they are all together, like they wouldn't care if they weren't all together. Like you can but that's how they live, and it's fine. They're all getting on, and
yeah.
they can
I used to have groups of cresties together. Yeah,
like all the babies are separate, but the adults, they came to us as a three. They stay as a three. Like I was a bit wary at points when they were like as they were growing up. I was just like keeping an eye on them. Obviously, I didn't want them to fight and drop their tails or whatever. So the option was always there to separate them if I needed to. But they're so far, I think we've had them 5 years now, and touch wood, we've never had
Cohabitation is
any
quite
issues.
taboo. A lot of people will tell you that you can't cohabitate.
Yeah.
There are some species you definitely can't cohabitate.
Yeah.
I cohabitate a lot of my animals. So 1, 2, 3. I have 4 enclosures of my 18 that only have 1 inhabitant. All the other enclosures have at least 2 of the same species. Yeah, and touch wood, like I've never had any issues with cohabitation. I've had the odd squabble between Gil and I, and I've had the odd squabble when I used to have a trio of Ackies. My other female just would try to kill my female.
Yeah.
Gets on with the male completely fine. The females just didn't get on. So you do have a chance that it can go wrong. And if you work full time and you come home to a dead lizard, it happens. But I think it can be done in the right instances with the right species, even if it's not necessarily a communal species. It's just a case of you have to take that risk in hand, because a lot of people look at my stuff and they're like, oh yeah, you've got all these together, it must be great. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to keep like 2 or 3 empty enclosures 24/7.
Yeah.
Just in case. It's not like fun looking at empty enclosures being like, oh yeah, one day that might have to get filled up, so there's good and bad with both.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like I'm not looking for every species to live together. Like I don't have communal, but it would be cool to have at least one.
Get some of the June geckos,
Stenodactylus. What was another species I was looking at as well? It was viper geckos.
Yeah, they're sick.
My
friend's just got a big group of them.
So the lady that runs my local pet shop, she has a big collection of them at home. They're just her personal animals that she keeps. They never appear in a shop either, but she does breed them, and then she likes them, so she keeps them at the moment. That's something else that might end up coming over at some point. Because
are you allowed to name your local shop? Because I know we're not miles away from each other. Or you're not going to?
So it's Horsham Water Gardens. It's in Hilliers Garden Centre, so it's not like it's small. They've only got a small reptile section. But Sally, the lady that owns it, is really nice. It's like half. It's a bit like.
Actually, I think I have. As you walk in, there's like fish tanks on the right there, and then you come round to the right, and the reptile section is like through there.
Yeah. So that's the one.
Yeah,
so
I have
they've moved all the reptiles now. So all the reptiles are down the back. They've got like a whole wall of reptiles.
Okay. I haven't been there since they've moved it, but it was there on the right. And there's a separate room. It was like a long room, and they have like things in the middle.
Yes.
Like used to have chameleon cages in the middle.
Yep. Yeah. They used to have chameleons and stuff.
Yeah, small world. There you go.
Yeah. So it's really good. And like Sally, the lady that owns it, is really nice. So I go and sex all their snakes for them, and she quite often rings me like, "Oh my god, we've got this cool thing, and come and have a look." And it's a good relationship with that shop. To be fair, it's a nice one to go. And there's a few shops. Well, to be fair, there aren't a few shops anymore. There were. There's not many shops around here anymore. But there's a few that
it's important to have a good relationship with a shop.
Definitely, and you want it to be a nice shop as well. Like, I've got a friend that lives on the coast, and that's as much as I'll say. But their local shop is horrible. Like, and he on more than one occasion has reported them for various things, and it's still open. So to have a shop on my doorstep that is nice, and the people are nice, and the animals are well looked after, and I know that the people that work there actually care as well. Like, sometimes you go into shops where at one point they really enjoyed the shop and it was like their passion, and it definitely isn't anymore. Like, we visited one at the weekend that is a small shop, and like they're just chatting at the counter. They don't say hello. The shop's tiny as well. Like, the shop is probably, I don't know, 10 foot squared, and it's crammed full of stuff. Like, the people don't talk to you. None of the animals look like they're particularly happy. A lot of the enclosures had like bulbs that weren't working and stuff. And I was like, yeah, we spent like 5 minutes and then left. Yeah. But it's nice to have one that is nice.
me and Matt, we did a round robin of reptile shops like down the south coast. Just went out together. I picked him up. I went to his. Or did he come to mine? Either way, and we did like 4 or 5 different reptile shops. And there was one we walked in. The second we walked in, we just turned around and walked straight back out. Like, yeah. And there was
It's bad
one.
though, isn't it? Because some people, that's like if you're a first-time reptile keeper, that's where you're getting advice from.
Mate, there's a shop near me. It's your podcast, so I won't name it.
Yeah,
If it was mine, I would have. There's a shop near me, and it's horrendous. Like horrendous. And I'm talking, there are literally dead animals,
yeah,
like just out. And I offered to buy one of them, and they picked up this animal, and this animal was pretty much dead. They put it in a box, and they were going to sell it to me.
that's mad.
Like it, and they're still going.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's mad. Like, yeah, I go to Emsworth, down on the south coast, Emsworth, exactly.
and
Emsworth Reptiles. But yeah,
oh yeah, Emsworth is one of my, like, when I was growing up, when I first learned to drive, I was like, oh my god, we can go to Emsworth whenever we want now, because it's not far from it. It's like 45-minute drive.
it's about 40 minutes from me, to be fair. Like, it's straight down the
cool.
A3. But yeah, I've got a good relationship with the shop. I really get on with the owner. He's a sound guy, you know, and I was in there yesterday. Ended up chatting to the boss for about 2 hours just about reptiles, and it's like, oh, you know, so
it's cool. It's a good shop. I don't know. Last time I went in there, they were still building all the they rhino iguanas I've got.
Yeah, he's got
So
lots.
they were
Of
building loads
of
of enclosures. Like
You
there
should
was,
go
I think there
down
was
there, man.
one done.
He's built quite. He's got a few. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got 9 massive enclosures in there at the minute.
And they are. They had like the framing in when I was there last, and they are huge
I think
enclosures.
they're 10 by 5 by 4.
Yeah,
10
which is
long,
that's cool, man.
4, 5 deep, 4 tall.
Yeah.
So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Then he's got like a 14-foot long, 8-foot deep, 8-foot tall, maybe bigger crocodile monitor enclosure. And then he's got 8 to 10-foot tall, 4-foot wide, 4-foot deep, maybe bigger enclosure for some Fiji iguanas.
Oh, cool! I don't think
they're the rarer Fiji iguanas, the crested Fiji iguanas, rather than just the banded Fiji iguanas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man, I love it. I don't go as often as I'd like. I get too busy, but you know, I pop in there now and then and buy bugs. It's very expensive for me to buy bugs from a pet shop, but I go in there sometimes and spend lots of money on bugs and look at the stock.
It's good to kind of have a look around and see what's going on as well. Like there's another one I think that's really local to you. It's not that far from me. Global Geckos, and
it's not miles from me. No,
they've got loads of cool stuff in there. And again, that's a shop where it's not so much pet shop animals. They do have a lot more rare or less seen animals. Yeah, they've got some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't go there as much as I should. They're actually further because of the way the roads are. They're actually technically they're closer in miles, but they take longer to drive than Emsworth does from me because I live bang on the A3. So I'm literally 2 minutes from the A3 and I'm straight down to Emsworth. Whereas I have to go up the A3 and then go up through into Windlesham and stuff to get to Global. But they breed the pygmy Melga monitors, the Gila Lion there, and they've got a bunch of knobtails. And the same as Emsworth, they have Global and Emsworth. They've got all LEDs. They've all got UVB in all of their enclosures, like on the shop front, and it's nice, you know. So I think that when you walk into a reptile shop and you go, oh, this is how you, and like Paul's got a lot of at Emsworth, he's got a lot of naturalistic backgrounds, big fake rock backgrounds and stuff like that. So when you walk in and you see a bearded dragon on sand with a rock background, it gives you the feel for like how it should be kept. And obviously we all understand that pet shops are a temporary home, but I like it when a pet shop does go a little bit above and beyond because it's just money out of their pocket.
Yeah, and they're setting a good example for those people that are coming in and want to, like I said, like first time pet keepers, reptile keepers. If they go in somewhere where like they're kept on newspaper and they've got a heat bulb or a red bulb, which is even worse, or you go into a shop where, like you say, they've got big fake backgrounds, they're on the correct substrate, they've got proper lighting, and you can go like, this is what he needs, and they go, "Oh right, okay," and it just works so much better. And if you can do that from the get go, then that's the way to go, I think. But,
100%, yeah, 100%. It's changing. The hobby's changing, and
yeah.
I feel like interesting question. You don't have to answer it. Did you feel like a bit of an imposter doing your podcast and keeping in racks?
No, but I think I would have if I didn't keep the other animals that I keep.
Okay, yeah,
If you
that makes
like,
sense.
if I just kept the royals, I'd have probably kept it as a royal only podcast because I've got nothing to sort of go off. But because I've got the other animals and I like enjoy the other aspects of it, one of the main things I wanted to do with the podcast was have a huge selection of different different species keepers on, because like let's face it, the royals are nice colours, but they're boring. Like, and like
You said it, man, not me.
No, I know,
Shoot him. Shoot him.
shoot me, I don't care. There's no live chat today, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, they're boring to keep, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to people about other species, because I could get royal keepers on every week. Like there's millions of royal keepers. They're all lining up to come on podcasts because they all want to promote whatever.
The next morph,
yeah, and I can sit here and have the same conversation, like what's in your racks, what are your breeding plans. But I want like I had Mikey and Mia on who keep macaws.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. Like I learned loads about macaws. I'm still not
Yeah.
allowed one because my wife said we're not allowed birds. But like, and like having you on and talking, like speaking about the monitors, and that was like quite early on, and when we were started chatting, and I learned loads.
Am I still the most downloaded podcast?
Yeah, you're most downloaded, but you're not the most viewed on YouTube anymore.
Oh no, I've got terrible views on YouTube. I've seen it. What we got to do one day, obviously not now because the schedule is bad, but
yeah,
maybe in the new year we'll book in a Saturday where I don't have my kid, and we'll actually do a live. And I'll bring my live lot over.
That or I'll just come on yours.
You can come on mine. I have spots next month.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll
now
see.
that you're open to admit that you
I have got. Well, I know we're getting. Well, I'm going to start wrapping it up, but next month I have got to do 2 live podcasts, or like live air quotes, not pre-recorded. But I'm also getting my December podcast ready because this is an exclusive if you're still listening as well. I am doing the 12 pods of Christmas. So in November, I've got to pre-record 12 podcasts to then release in December.
Is this just the 12 days leading up to Christmas? Yeah.
No. So no. I'm going to record 12. So the first one will come out on the 1st of December, and the final one will come out on Christmas Day, and they'll get released like equal distance between. So I think it works out like one every 3 days. And they're not gonna. I've got to find 3 more guests still that will agree to come on before it all comes into fruition. But
who's
going to
be Christmas Day? Is it just going to be a solo?
I don't know yet. I haven't got that far. I'm still getting the guest list together, but it's going to be fun, and they're going to be shorter podcasts. And I'm going to dress up, and I'm hoping some other people might at least put a Christmas hat on or something. And it will be. If to be fair, it's not going to be as serious or like chatty as most of them. It will be quite Christmassy based, but I'm looking forward to doing that.
That's a good idea. I'm not going to do that because I don't like Christmas.
No, it's fine. You're going to come on mine, and you can dress as the
Grinch.
I'll
dress up as the Grinch.
That's fine. I love a Grinch. Well, maybe we'll do you on Christmas Day as the Grinch.
Depending when we record, I might have a real life good exclusive for your listeners. Depending when it works out. If I'm going to be out, we'll talk about that in. But I could have stay tuned, guys. I forgot what I was going to say. I probably won't do anything fancy for my podcast, but I am going to take my podcast into multi-species. So you've got competition now.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. Competition's all right.
You can come on.
It's not competition. It's not competition when we keep coming on each other's podcasts. Anyway.
Now that you're happy to talk about keeping snakes in racks, you can come on mine.
Actually, that was one of the things I was going to say earlier as well. It's like when I was talking about posting on Instagram and like cropping out the tubs. The first time Paul came on this podcast, I specifically said to him, I don't want to talk about racks because I just didn't want to have that conversation at all. And it's mad how it's now gone full circle, and
you remember you said to me, you said like, can I come on your not that can I come on your podcast? It's like when you can have me, or whatever you said, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, come on my podcast. Of course you can. As long as you're okay with me asking you why you keep an animal in an unenriched, sterile,
Yeah,
unheated, unlighted, whatever I said, enclosure. And you were like, yeah, fair enough.
yeah. It is. No, it's mad. It's taken me 15 years to get to the point where I'm like, I want to do something different, and I am looking forward to it. And like I said, I'm not shitting on anyone that does keep in racks. Like, it is what it is, and like there's lots of people doing it all over the world, but
You just
it's
have to
not
be
for me
happy in your
anymore.
own hobby. Yeah.
Yeah,
You just have to be
exactly.
like,
And I'm not happy. I'm not happy getting home and seeing the snakes at the front of the tubs when I can go in the other room and there's a chameleon in an enclosure that's 300 times bigger than his.
yeah, that's what I mean. You, as long as you're happy with your own hobby, like, don't get me wrong. Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and try and pretend. People that follow me know that I speak my truth.
Yeah,
I don't agree with animals being kept without UVB and halogens. That's just my personal opinion. Doesn't make me better than anybody else. Doesn't make me worse than anybody else. That's just my opinion. It's the same as, for example, you ask on your podcast favorite biscuits.
yeah,
You never asked me because it was a new question.
yeah. I know. I'm sorry.
But my point,
We'll save that for the Christmas episode. I'll write
my
that down.
point is, everyone has a different answer, and that's
Yeah.
okay. You know, like everyone can believe different things. Two things can coexist at once, right?
Yeah.
So as
I
long as
completely agree.
you personally listening and everybody is happy and content in their own keeping, because there could be someone who's a friend of yours, someone that you admire on social media, and they are pushing their agenda. I push my agenda. That's what social media is.
Yep.
They're pushing their agenda, and you could not resonate with that agenda, but you want this person to almost like you, or you want to be like this person, so you feel like you're keeping for them. They don't
Yeah.
care. Like, I'm doing my thing, you do your
Yeah.
thing. I'd be a lot happier if you're messaging me going, hey man, don't really like your content, don't agree with what you're saying, but I'm happy that you're happy. Cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, we're all part of the same hobby, and we all seem to subdivide ourselves just over the most petty things. And I can come across as a real twat sometimes because I am incredibly, and just say it how it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're enjoying your hobby, it's a selfish hobby. We keep animals in boxes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you do, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Right, mate, we are going to wrap up, as this is
That's
definitely the longest episode we've been going for. And before we go, where can people find you if they don't already follow you?
This is light work for me. Like, my podcast
Yeah, I
is
know
normally
it is.
between
I know.
3 and
Mate,
5 hours.
Like, I normally go for an hour, so this is like a bumper episode.
Paul's Monitors on Instagram and YouTube. The podcast is called the Captive Raptors Podcast, but it's under just Paul's Monitors. Yeah, that's it really. Paul's Monitors. We do lizard stuff.
Yeah, and gecko stuff. Well, geckos are lizards, I suppose.
I don't have any
yeah.
snakes anymore. I have a tortoise, but I don't post about it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I like a tortoise.
Yeah, it's fees. Torpedo.
And some guinea pigs.
We have guinea pigs. We have Weep, Wop, Torpedo, short for the last bit of the name. Fee calls him Torp, and then I call him the last bit.
Yeah.
That's about it. I don't really post. There's no other animals I don't post. It's just these animals that I don't post. I did build the 6x3 enclosure that my Ackies were in is now a tortoise run. So we have a tiny little tortoise in a 6x3, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, well, thank you for having me on, mate.
Paul's Monitors might become Paul's guinea pigs soon.
No.
Never.
When the guinea pigs go, Fee's getting a rabbit and probably a dog. And I want a 10 rec. So
yeah, cool.
Paul's 10 recs.
Yeah. See, that's another. I need to I've decided I'm going to rebrand as well because I don't want to stay as Ben's Balls.
Because that's just sexual now that you don't have royals.
Well, yeah, it is. And I don't. But I don't. Like, I've been chatting. Like, my mum's quite into her social media, and we've been talking about it for like the last week. And I'm just going round and round and round. So at some point, you're going to go, or people listening might try and find my Instagram, and it may have changed, but I don't know yet. I'll announce it.
Have you not thought of a name yet?
I've thought of a few, but I don't like any of them.
Are you going to just be simple like Ben's Reptiles?
I did think that. I don't know. I was on ChatGTP trying to get making it. I produced like 500 different names, and every single one of them I was like, I hate it.
When I started social media, I was just like, I keep monitors. My name's Paul. I'll do Paul's Monitors, and then I'll be like, I'll think of a good name and I'll change it. And then my social media took off, and then I was like,
it works.
I can't change my name now because I'm
Yeah.
like 20,000 followers in, and I've nearly hit 38,000 on Instagram now. It's like
That's
it's
mad.
crazy. So for me to
I think
rebrand,
when I had you on the podcast the first time, you were on 12,000. So in
I'm
like 6 months, yeah, I think
I'm
so.
38,000 now. Well, nearly
So
38.
that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, mate. But it's just
But
numbers at the end of the day.
it is. It is. But
You
anyway,
know?
right. We are going to definitely wrap this up now. That is the end of the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you guys are still here and have enjoyed the conversation. I know it's a little bit different from the usual format, and I'm sure we will go back to the normal format in the next episode.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, obviously like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please give us a follow and a rate and review, which you can do as well. And on Spotify, you can also leave a comment as well. If you want to support the podcast a little bit more, there's a link in the description below to Patreon. It starts at £2 and it all goes towards helping the podcast. There's some stuff on there, there's some exclusives. I don't really have a plan for it at the moment, but if you want to help out, I'm never going to say no, and it is greatly appreciated. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it is at Ben's Balls at the moment and at ReptiChat for the podcast account. So that's all from us today, I guess. Paul, thank you again for coming on, and that's the end of today. So until next time, bye.
Farewell.